Hi everybody, Ben from Gwinear Angling here again, and today we're going to talk about the quintessential Cornish shore fishing bait, the frozen sandeel. This is a frozen sandeel. They tend to come in about three sizes: small, medium and large. This is a medium, sort of the larger size of medium. You also used to get extra large sandeels, but I haven't seen those for a few years. And you do also get lance, or launce, however you want to pronounce it. They're actually a different species. You can tell them apart by they're a slightly different colour. They've got a much longer beak on them as well. They're a different species. They're not the same bait as this, so make sure if you're buying that it is what you want and it's not sandeel you're after. But these are a fantastic bait for all the species that feed on the bottom, like ray, flatfish, gurnard, huss, dogfish, all those sort of things. And then moving up in the water column, you've got Pollack and Mackerel, love them. And even garfish, small strips of sandeel are a fantastic bait for garfish. Even something like a wrasse down in West Cornwall, you can fish a sandeel for a wrasse and catch cuckoos and ballons like that. It really is a bait that will cover an awful lot of bases. It's probably the most versatile one you could fish with on our shoreline. So today we're going to look at a few different ways of presenting it so you get the most out of your sandeels. Let's get cracking. So the first presentation we're going to look at is just the standard way that you would present one for, say, a ray or a bull huss, something like that. In this kind of fishing, we're relying more on scent than visual appeal. So what I'm going to do is, to maximise the scent leakage from the bait, I'm going to chop the head and the tail off. So what you're left with is basically the main body of the sandeel. All the blood is in the gill area here, so that's where we want our hook to be. And now what I'm going to do is put the main hook about an inch from the end, the gill end, put it in very shallow and come out just there. So as you can see, we haven't obstructed the gape too much there, and the hook point is level with where all the blood is coming out, the main source of attraction in this bait. Now what we're going to do, take some cotton and just bind this on. Start around the middle of the shank and just do some crisscross wraps just to keep it there. When you come around the eye, make a special effort around the eye and the knot of the pennel rig. About there I'm going to stop, and you can see that's all lashed onto there nicely. We've got a pennel hook here because, generally speaking, with this, because it being such a long bait, many of the species you're fishing for, especially fish like bull huss, you want to make sure you've got a hook at either end because they're masters of mouthing and not getting hooked. So what I'm going to do now is just wrap that pennel hook around a few times. Go in the top and pull it tight. Again, same pattern, crisscross wraps, continue wrapping. And finish somewhere around there. And you can see that's presented nice and straight, which is really important when using sandeel. If it's not straight, it will tend to wobble when you cast it. And if you're clipped up, you'll get that helicopter effect that robs your distance no end, and you don't want that. So this kind of presentation is really good for your ray, huss. You can fish this for bass at night, although I would tend to favour a slightly different presentation for bass. I would leave the head and tail on. I've got no real proof that it makes that much difference, but I feel like with a bass it hunts a lot more visually than something like a ray or a huss. So I like to leave the eel intact and kind of minimise the cotton a little bit, just to make sure that when it's fluttering in the surf at night, it looks like an entire fish rather than just a bit of meat. To pep this up a bit, what you can do, just knock that hook out, put it to one side, is you can make a cocktail bait out of it. Now, adding an extra attraction in the form of two baits together is a really good idea. Lots of different times of the year. For ray, you'll tend to find that in the springtime, adding a piece of mackerel to this can make a big difference, and that would be with your spotted, small-eyed, thornback. fresh mackerel is really, really attractive. So if you catch a mackerel and you want to put some out there, but you want to keep the base of your bait sandeel, then why not put a strip of mackerel on? In the autumn time, it's squid that is the top bait that you want to be adding to your sandeel. So what I'm going to do now is just show you how to put a little strip of squid on. So I've got an unwashed squid here. All I'm going to do is going to take a strip off the side here. So the strip is probably an inch wide, something like that. You're just basically going to give this a little jacket. Put the thin end at this end of the bait so it doesn't impede aerodynamics when casting. And lash it to the top of the bait. Some people do this all in a wanna. They'll lash the sandeel and the squid together before they put it on the hooks, and that's fine, you can do that. It is easier to keep the bait straight that way as well, because you can use something called a baiting needle, which we sell in the shop, and that will help you keep the whole presentation straight. I like to do it this way because if I've put the sandeel on right, it's already straight, so I know it's all just going to sit nicely. So there's just a little bit of attraction added on there. That also gives you a little bit of extra security against crabs and things like that. It will take longer for them to whittle that down. So all I would do is knock the pennel hook into the top of that bait. And that is a really, really attractive bait, especially to ray. In the autumn time, you'll find that the small-eyed ray in particular really like that particular bait there. In fact, I caught my best bass on that bait when I was ray fishing, so it's one I'm pretty fond of. So the next presentation we're going to show is just using a single hook. This is just a 2/0 wide gape, the same as I've used on the ray rig right there. And this is the way that you would present the sandeel if you wanted to spin it for pollock or something like that. Or you could use this for bass as well. I have used this bass fishing before. A bass will tend to hit an eel around the head to disable it and then come back to eat it. So if you concentrate your hook around the head area with a whole eel, you'll tend to hook the bass more often than you won't. So if you take the hook, go in near the eye, and then run it down a bit until you get just past the bend. Bring the hook out, try and stay somewhere around the lateral line of the eel. And then I just pull that through a little bit. And you can see you've got all this tail flapping here. It's a very mobile bait, very attractive in terms of visual appeal. And then the same crisscross tactic with the cotton. Make sure you make a special effort around the eye. Pinch off. And that is how I would present an eel if I wanted to spin it for pollock. And like I say, I have used this for bass as well. Some people like to just do that to lock off the head, but in practice you'll find that the cotton is much more secure, and if you're getting pollock nipping at the tail a lot, that sort of thing, then you'll get more cast out of this than you will if you just half hitch the head on. So that's another really nice way of fishing it. Very natural. Back when we used to get a lot of live sand eels in Cornwall, this was the way a lot of people mounted theirs in this similar fashion. What you do is you go through the mouth and then come out through the gill plate and then just nick the hook in the side of the eel there, and that would make a great bass bait. So another way you can use sand eel is in pieces. You don't have to use the whole thing. If I'm fishing for something like flatfish, say turbot, or maybe something like gurnard or greater weaver fish, something a little bit exotic that likes sand eel, then this might be the presentation that I go for. So I'll take a sand eel, cut it in half. When doing this, I would follow the same sort of head and tailing protocol that I used for the ray baits. Hook about 1 inch from the end where the gills are and the blood is, then out. Then I'd use the cotton to lash that on. Quite often when I do this, I'll add some sort of tipper. So let's try a little strip of squid because we've got some squid there. But a mackerel tip is a really, really good bait, especially if you get fresh mackerel. It's hardly a turbot alive that can resist one of those with a lovely fresh strip of fresh mackerel behind it. But we've got some squid here, so we use that. So I've cut a really thin strip of squid here. That's to make it very mobile. It's like a little flag on the end of your bait. All you do then is just knit it through a couple of times, and you can see. It's quite a large bait. You'd certainly interest plenty of small eyes and spotted rays with that as well. But very effective bait. I used to use 2-hook rigs, and I'd like a clip down rig in the winter, and I'd put two halves of sandeel on, and yeah, I used to catch, quite often have a codlin on one and a bass on the other, and or a whiting on one and a dog on the other. You catch a real mixed bag of species with sandeel. It could go a long way. Great bait. So just a word on the availability of sandeels. The supply of sandeels varies greatly from year to year. Some years are better than others. We don't always have a great stock of them. At the moment, this year's been pretty good, so we're managing to keep quite a few in stock, and that's why we can make these videos and show you how to use them. But like I said, it does vary year on year. Last year was not so good. Quite often we'll find that we can only get stocks of really one size, like smalls or mediums. So unfortunately that's something we can't do much about. But we always endeavour to keep frozen sandeel in, because like I said, it is probably the most versatile bait you can have. It's useful for so many different species, and it really will catch you a lot of fish. So learning how to use it, employ it in your fishing, and I'm sure it will catch you a lot of fish. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give the video a like, hit the subscribe button and support us on the channel. We really appreciate everyone who does. If you've got any questions or anything you'd like to add, please do so in the comments, and we'll get around to answering it as soon as we can. Even better, come and see us in the shop. We're always friendly faces here. We're always trying to help you out, put you on the fish where we can. Cheers. I'll see you in the next video.